Hey guys, my name is Haley, and today I'm going to be filming my wrap-up, or my recently read books. And I actually don't have that many today, but a lot of them, if not all of them, were ones I really loved, so I feel like I have a lot to say about them. So we're just gonna film a wrap-up now, even though it hasn't been that long since my last one. So the first book I want to talk about is the finale of the Themis Files, which if you've been keeping up, you'll know that I love. And that is Only Human by Sylvain Neuvel. I adore this series. This one was not my favorite. I think Waking Gods was my favorite, but this was a great finale. This was a really good way to wrap up the series. I really liked that we got to learn, ooh, how do I say this without spoilers? We got to learn something very cool for a book that involves another language. So that's all I'm gonna say for fear of spoiling things, but I gave this 4.5 stars. Really love this series. Highly recommend if you've never picked it up. I've heard the audiobooks are really good, so if I ever reread them, I think I will listen to them via audio, but this was fantastic. Next up, I read Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. So this is a book I've had for a very long time. I've never tried to read it, I've never picked it up, and I picked it up literally on a whim. I was looking at my shelf and I was like, I've had that book for a while. Opened it up, read 30 pages, like, immediately, and was just sucked right into it because of the way that this book starts. I've talked before that I really like when books have theater elements, and the beginning of this is one of those situations in theater that if this happened in real life while I was in a show, I would be like, what do I do? What do you do in that situation? Because it would just cause a mass panic, and that's kind of what happens. But the writing in this was beautiful, the characters were really interesting, the way it was told in the split, like, timelines was really interesting, and the way they, like, connected and interweaved throughout the story. The only reason, I gave this 4.75 stars, and the only reason I didn't give it the full 5 stars is there's a character in here called the Prophet, which, as you can imagine with that name, has something to do with someone who thinks he's doing things for the greater good or in the name of Christianity or his version of it, and as you know, that's one of my biggest pet peeves in books ever, so I want to read everything by her now because the writing was so good. And then next, you guys know how I've been looking for a zombie book that I just love. Particularly I've been looking for a zombie series, but especially just like a zombie book. And I finally found one. And I'm so happy about it. This is definitely my favorite zombie book I've ever read. And that is The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey. I was hooked into this from the get-go. I love the way it starts. I love the setting. I love the concept of these zombies that have, like, sentience. They have still a brain capacity, and I'm not gonna say anything else about that because I even think that's kind of a spoiler, but that's the idea of going into this book. I really liked all of our characters. I liked this version of zombies, which I'm very picky about what version of zombies there are in, like, books or TV shows, because I really love The Walking Dead, and that's how I see, like, every zombie now because of it. These characters, though, you get so attached to them really fast. Even the ones that, like, seem to be villains, like, they're just so interesting, and what they're trying to do is really interesting, and the situation that they're in is just absolutely insane, and I loved everything about it, all 400 some pages of this book. It's so good. This is the zombie book that I keep asking people if they know of a zombie book this good, that this is it. This is the bar now. And then I decided that I was gonna try audiobooks. Like, officially try audiobooks. I've tried them before. I've listened to parts of Illuminae and Gemina on audio, like, around my other friends because they were listening to them via audio while following along in the books. And I do really, one day when I reread that series, want to listen to those audiobooks because they're fantastic. But one day I was like, I really need to finish a specific book, and I wonder if listening to it on audio will help me finish that way faster. And that is the Alexander Hamilton biography by Ron Chernow. This is the book Hamilton was based off of that Lin-Manuel Miranda read. As you can see, I tabbed it up. I got to like page 300 something. I want to say it was like 333, which is about this far into the book, by myself reading it over the course of many months. And then I just didn't touch the rest of this book for a really, really long time because it takes so long to read, because the text, there's just so much of it on each page, and it's just blocks of text, and it's a lot of information, so it's really hard to sit down and read, because I can sit for like an hour and feel like I've barely read anything because this book is 800 pages. But then I downloaded Overdrive. I've had Overdrive before, but I've never really used it that much. And I got the audiobook thinking, oh, I'm probably not gonna finish this because I'm not used to audiobooks. I'm not gonna have time to listen to the audiobook in a 2-week period that I have this. To my surprise, I finished it in like a week and a half, and I was flabbergasted at how much time I spend doing something that I can also listen to an audiobook. I was just not reading because I don't have audios going. I read this so fast. The narrator was fantastic. I got through like 500 pages of this block text book just by like turning it on when I was making breakfast or lunch or dinner, or while I was cleaning the house, or while I was cleaning my room, or while I was just scrolling through Instagram or something, like maniacal things like that you don't realize you're taking up so much time doing until you're doing something else at the same time, like listening to something, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's time I could have been reading. Or if my eyes were tired and I didn't want to actually read a physical book, I would just lay in my bed and let it play for like a while, and I got so much reading done. I was so surprised. So now I definitely get the audiobook craze. I really, really enjoyed this. I gave this 4 stars mainly because I can't give it 5, even though it's a masterpiece, obviously. Also, these tabs are all things that were mentioned or like directly quoted in the Hamilton musical by Lin. So, as you can see, this was very much inspired by this book, but I absolutely love this. I'm definitely on board with the audiobook craze. I don't think I'll listen to them all the time like a lot of people do, but I do definitely see why people love them so much now. And it's all because it finally helped me finish this book. Then I did a reread of one of my favorite Christian nonfictions, and that is Gods at War by Kyle Idleman. If you didn't know, Kyle Idleman is my favorite Christian nonfiction writer. He's absolutely hilarious the way he like phrases his sentences, and he like does footnotes and stuff, and I wrote in and did a bunch of stuff with this book like I do with like most, if not all, of my Christian nonfiction, but I really love this. I've read it multiple times, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars again. Then I picked up NSA by Benny Nyland. As you can see, this cover is really pretty. It's also got a ton of fingerprints on it because it's like that buttery cover. But I don't know if I should hold it like this or what to do. So this is a political satire of our US government, is the best way to describe it. I got this book, like, it was offered to me via the author on a YouTube message that I didn't see for months, and when I finally did see it, I was like, it's easier to get a hold of me through Goodreads, but yes, I will read your book. Which I believe that was like last year, maybe even longer than that, because I got the book a couple months later, and then didn't pick it up until like a couple weeks ago, because I'm horrible. But I've never read satire, I don't think, and I wasn't sure what I would think of political satire, but this turned out to be really, really entertaining. The basic premise is that the NSA, which is the National Security Association, if you don't know, has all these plots to take over the other areas of government around them. And there's this one reporter who's trying to, like, tell everyone that they're doing this and, like, put a stop to it. But slowly the NSA starts to take over other, like, security things like the FBI and things related to that. They become this, like, overarching scary, if you think about it in like real life terms, thing. And it's like, it's a commentary on how social media and the way we view government and the way we view news can be so manipulated. And this is a great way of showing how that's possible. Honestly, I found it really, really entertaining. Like, first of all, the characters have really, like, generic, satire-y names. Like, one of them is called, like, our main character is called Smug because he's a very smug person, and that's just his personality. The reporter girl that's trying to stop all of this from happening, her name is Senator Bigsley. And, like, the president, who's not a great president and mostly cares about how he is viewed to the public, his name is President Meek. And it's just these really clever, funny names. And some of the antics that go on in this seem so ridiculous, but at the same time you're like, oh no, that could probably happen. And it's really scary to think about. As funny and entertaining as this is, the implications of it are really concerning, and I really, really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I will read anything else by Benny Nyland. I loved it. It was fantastic. Very, very good. I think this is like self-published or from a really small publishing house. It says Duplicator Books. I don't know if that's the publisher. I'm not really familiar with small publishing houses, but I really enjoyed this. If you can get your hands on it, definitely read it. I enjoyed it way more than I expected to. Like, I was expecting to give it, like, a lower rating because this is not something that I normally read, but now I'm really interested in, like, satire and, like, that type of thing. So if you know any books along those lines, please let me know and leave them down below so I can check them out. And then lastly, of the books that I finished, I read Battle Royale by Kushun Takami. Sorry if I mispronounced that or like any of the characters' names that I'm about to try to say because I don't speak Japanese and I'm just pronouncing them the way I did in my head. So if you don't know the concept of a battle royale, this is kind of what Hunger Games was based off of. It's a bunch of kids thrown into an arena type thing and they all have to kill each other and there's only one winner. But in this case, all of the kids are classmates and they've grown up together, and there's a couple new transfer students, but for the most part, most of them know each other like really, really well, or they're like really good friends, which adds a whole nother level to the like, you have to kill all of your classmates type deal thing. My favorite character was definitely Shoujo, which I believe was Kate's favorite character as well. She read this right before I did, and he was just lovely. I didn't love our other main character, Shuya, that much. I really liked Kazuo. He was a great antagonist to have in this book. I really like, oh, what's his name? It's like Sakamoki or Mochi or something like that. He's the general that's like in charge, like the government official that's in charge of this battle royale like program. He was really creepy, really just absolutely insane. Like, he was killing people for no reason before the game even started. It was crazy. There was one girl, I don't even remember her name, she wasn't in it for very long. I think it was Takako, it might have been her name, I don't remember. She was one of the, like, popular girls in the class, and she had, like, streaks in her hair, and she just was so brutal at this guy that was like trying to like attack her, and she was so much fun, and I was really sad very quickly because of what happened. But anyway, no more spoilers. I really loved this. I read it over a couple of days. Like, I started it a couple of days earlier and then didn't read anything for a couple of days. And then sat and read this book in like a day and a half. So, and it's a long book. It's like 600 pages. They've got a nice map in the beginning. This is a masterpiece. The ending was just crazy. Everything about it was crazy. It's very, very graphic. So if you don't like graphic things, probably don't read this. It's very blunt and to the point. So be aware of that going in, but if you really like the Hunger Games, I would definitely recommend this. So these are all of the books that I've read recently. I really enjoyed all of them, like a ton, but thank you all for watching, and I will see all of you guys next time.